All right, guys, very brief introduction because you are potentially about to listen to me speak for an entire hour, which is no doubt an arduous endeavor, but if you're up for it, all power to you. This is an hour-long clip from a 3-hour podcast that John Greaves III does on Garage Gym Life. He does a great job. He's a really kind fellow and a good interviewer. I'm on there for about an hour. If you want to see the entire episode, go over to his channel, Garage Gym Life on YouTube. I believe he does these every Friday. He's killing it. I had a great time speaking to him, but anyway, without further ado, here's me speaking for an hour.
Okay, it is 6:58 in the morning. So that's close enough for me, close enough to 7 o'clock Eastern time, 6 a.m. Central for my taste. Shout out to the Central Time Zone. We appreciate all of you guys for starting your Friday out by getting up way too early with Garage Gym Life. We are heading into the second hour of the show. And if you are watching on LinkedIn, please do me a favor and make sure that you are following our show page, Up Way Too Early with Garage Gym Life, so that you do not miss a single episode as we continue to interview the most influential business owners, CEOs, content creators, people who influence the at-home fitness community. And that includes today's guest. His name is Chris Spagnese, and that was a complete guess on how to say his name, but Chris Spagnese from the Strength and Steel Reviews YouTube channel. So Chris is... This is the first person I've been able to describe this way, but Chris is an adventurer who's traveled to, I want to say, more than 10 countries. He's trained MMA. He pursued a career in law enforcement before becoming a high school English teacher. Not sure which one's more dangerous. Today, he's a coach and a product reviewer with several product videos that have over 20,000 views. So if you are a brand that's interested in collaborating with Chris, I'll warn you, he can be tough to reach because he actually hates social media. Well, maybe he just hates Instagram. But fortunately, I will have his contact information in the show description, and we'll also share his best contact, ask him to share it during this interview. So, Chris, are you ready? All right, he's ready to go. So, everybody, warm welcome for Chris Spagnese.
All right. The music?
So, you're in violation already. We got a standing rule, no deeper voices than mine on my show. All right.
I can't control it. I've been told my entire life I sound like a Neanderthal. This is what you get.
I'm just saying. All right. Well, we'll figure out something. Man, thanks for getting up way too early with Garage Gym Life, dude. Appreciate you being here. And in fact, I'll tell you that we had an early, one of the earliest chats said it was from Sean from Colonial Barbell Club. See if I can find it. He said he's a huge fan of everybody in the thumbnail. And let's see here. Yep, they're right there. He said, I'm a fan of all the people in that thumbnail. So, you're on the thumbnail. So he is officially a fan of yours. And honestly, so am I after checking out your stuff. I like how you approach content creation, the integrity that you approach it with. And I love your why. You did an interview with Lauren Campbell, who was, I believe, was a high school student. This is while you were a teacher at T.C. Roberson High School. And you said, my goal is to be a hero. I want to have an influence. I'm going to die one day, and I just want to know that I left having some sort of positive impact on the world around me. I want my life to have purpose and meaning. First of all, I see the shock on your face that I found that quote. You're like, what in the world?
Yeah, I mean, keep going.
He said, how? So my question is, how is what you do now, both on YouTube and training your clients, helping you to fulfill that mission?
I can't believe you found that. That's so crazy. That is the first high school that I taught at.
Investigative journalist. It's a lot easier than you would think. So I got this is a fairly, well, let me condense it. I searched your name, and then I did searches for everything connected to your name. And then I searched so I found your LinkedIn profile. And then from there, I looked for places where you have been, interviews with Chris Spagnese. And that one I do a lot of times. Give away all my secrets, Chris. One of the reasons I do that is because I don't like to ask people stuff that they've been asked before. You know what I mean? I don't want to ask you stuff you've had to answer a bunch of times. So I go and I listen, and this is partly why it takes longer for me to, I don't just say, okay, well, hey, come on the show tomorrow, because I want to have time to
Right.
go through this process. And
Mhm.
so I go through, I listen to what you've said, and then I try to come up with questions based upon what you've said in the past, if that
Mhm.
makes sense. All right. Um, but yeah, so how is you want to leave an influence, you want to have a positive impact in the world. How's what you do on YouTube uh and with your clients, how's that helping you fulfill that?
Well, I guess in some ways it is, and in some ways it doesn't feel like it is. You mentioned before that I hate social media, and then you kind of pull back a little bit. I do. I struggle with it. I struggle with interacting with people online sometimes because it doesn't feel natural, it doesn't feel tangible. I grew up in a big Italian family, and everybody's always talking all the time. We're all together all the time. So that's why I got into teaching. I loved
Yeah.
making people feel safe. Like that's kind of my thing. You
Okay.
know, I like making people feel safe. I'm really good at it, like as a human being, because I try to be me everywhere I go. Learning how to do that on camera, like you figured that out. You've got this big, vibrant, colorful personality. I've been watching you. You're so you've how long have you been doing this? Before I fully answer your question, though I'm not going to over answer it, I will
No,
answer
no,
it
that's fine.
directly,
It's a
but I have
conversation. It's fine. I
yeah,
embrace tangents. Which you'll know that's
really.
a promise and a warning. Uh
Sounds good.
so I was coincidentally an English major in college, and
Really?
I was going to be a reporter.
Hmm.
And so I went through, got all the way to graduation. I'm sorry, the summer before graduation, did my internship with a local newspaper. And I had to, the thing that stopped me from being a reporter was I had to spend about 3 weeks. It felt like the entire summer, but it really was just 3 weeks, chasing some politicians around, trying to get a straight answer to a question about why they had yet to approve or vote, not even approve, but vote on a special purpose local option sales tax.
Hmm.
And my editor said, "Go and find out why they haven't brought this thing to a vote yet." Okay. And so, I mean, it took some work to get them to finally answer me. I got some answers. Um, I freely admit to instigating because I waited. Somebody made the mistake of saying, "Well, it's not really, we still got plenty of time, and I guess we just kind of get together, and we're all friends, and we just get so wrapped up in just getting and working together that we kind of never got to actually bring it to a vote." I said, "Okay." I said, "I appreciate that." So then I called somebody from the other party, and I said, "Yeah, so." Just reaching out for a comment here because I don't remember if it was this, I don't remember if it was Democrats or Republicans, but I just said, so the other guy said that this isn't really something we should be worried about. It's not a big deal, and there's plenty of time. He said it's not plenty of time. I said, oh well, would you care to go on record? And then so I had to do that, and I got the story written, and I called my dad, who was a journalist for like 40 years, and I said, "Daddy, I don't think I can do this for my entire life, chasing
Hmm.
adults around trying to get a straight answer. This doesn't feel right." And so
Hmm.
I turned my part-time job at a local gym into a full-time job and kind of started my journey there. So
But how long have you been doing this early morning podcast specifically?
this is year 3. This is
Year
year
three?
Yeah, yep, year 3. It was rough. We had our first year anniversary a few weeks ago, and we what we do is every year we have the guest from that first episode, we bring him back, and we catch is Mike Reed from Micro Gains, and we bring him back and we catch up on what's been going on with his business, and we talk about what's been going on with the show. And it was I don't so we've got 5,000, about 5,600 people watching right now. Okay, I lied, 5,700. That first episode with Mike, I don't know if we hit double digits in people
That's how
watching,
it would be.
right?
Right, of course.
So, I mean, here, for example, here's Mike from Mike's in California. So he woke up extra early because you can imagine what time it is there. And he said he's a
Right.
fan of yours. He said he loves your content. He says another fan. Um,
Thanks,
so
buddy.
We definitely didn't have that. We didn't have people in California waking up to come watch a show with 3 of their friends. You know what I mean? Because yeah, so it's been a grind, man. But it's like the first time I don't know how it was for you when you first started training, but I know the first time I went in the gym to start, I think they started me out on focus mitts. That first jab was ugly. I don't even know where it went. Okay, but
Chad, or did you box? What did you do?
yeah, I competed in kickboxing.
You
Uh,
competed in kickboxing?
I competed in kickboxing. Yeah,
Really?
yeah. I I got the silver medal at the IKF Nationals in 2001.
No
Uh,
kidding.
yeah.
My estimation of you has grown. It's a hard. How old were you?
Oh, I was still in my 20s.
Hmm.
I want y'all to know that it has not escaped me that Chris doesn't like talking about himself, and so he has shifted it around to making me talk about myself. I'm alert to that, okay? But I'm still gonna I'm still gonna bring us back to the question.
It isn't that I
Um,
don't like. It isn't that I don't like it.
I,
It's that I'm curious by nature, and
I
I've
can
been
see that.
examining you. I've been watching you. You don't
Okay,
have much experience with me yet, but
yeah,
uh, I develop connections with people just by talking to them. And
yeah,
you said this is a conversation. I'm treating it like a conversation, and
I like
so
it.
normal conversation. I'm going to ask questions when I have questions, uh, and I'll answer them too. But you're an interesting guy. Like your personality. It's so big, and I
Yeah,
guess that's why you're so successful on here.
you know,
But hold on. When did so you said you were in your mid 20s when you competed?
yeah, because I was already in the Marine Corps by that time, so I want to say I was 27. I mean,
Okay,
I'm 52 now, so I'd have to I could do the math and go back because it was 2001. I'm
okay,
52 now, so yeah.
I see. Do you still
Yeah.
train at all?
I don't train anywhere. My Shifu passed away. I have seen people who I'm interested in training with, but there's nobody close to me. So what I did was like, for example, Francis Fong's academy is about 2 hours away from me. We were under Grandmaster Joe Lewis, who has also passed away, and he was in North Carolina. So, all the people who were with him are kind of far away. I did see, uh, like I said, I see people who are interesting, but they're just far away. And then what I've done is it's called Glove Up. So
Mhm.
check out. I'm a member of their stuff on YouTube. So I still hit the bag. I have 2 bags. I got a combat corner bag and the Bells of Steel bag that I'm actually playing around with a little bit now.
Nice,
And then I've got
nice.
my Mukjong, the Wing Chun dummy. I've got that downstairs too, just for like knuckle conditioning and stuff like that. But it's like one of those things. You said that my personality is big, and I'm actually, in terms of in person, or what the kids call IRL, I'm more subdued
Hmm.
because yeah, so I spend time okay, so just for example, the way you're sitting, I couldn't do, because you know how you're in front of the windows. I can't do that.
Hmm.
And I haven't been able to do that since I deployed to Iraq in 04, 05. And
Hmm.
I remember we were in a market, and we were surrounded, and all of us were surrounded. This is in Fallujah. Not long after we had taken the city, that's what we were there for. We helped take the city of Fallujah, and then after that, we had to do patrols and things like that. So I'm standing in this market, and you don't know where danger could be coming from, and everything's just like pinging, right? Like your spider sense is just going. And
Hmm.
since then, I came back home, and my wife, who was just on, said that when I first got back, she said that every little thing made me jump. And she said
Hmm.
one night I guess I was having a nightmare. I never woke up, but she
Hmm.
said I grabbed her and rolled out of the bed and ended up on top of her. And she said, "What are you
Hmm.
doing?" And she said, I said to her, "Oh, that was a truck." And then fell asleep right there. So now that's all good, except now we're on the floor and I'm like on top of her. So now we're on the floor. She said, this is great. Thanks for being protective, but I'd like to get back up and get in the bed if that's okay. But
Right.
I never woke up. So in person, I spend a lot of time like observing the person. I do a lot of people watching, which I can tell you do as well. I do a lot of people watching, get the vibe of the situation. Yeah, that's it. But online, you can't have a subdued personality and be successful online because, and the reason I say that is I don't mean that you need to like scream and yell, but necessarily, but for one thing, this is a morning show. So if I'm here, like, kind of like low energy, then I'm bringing the people who are watching down. Right. And the goal for this show is to give everybody a good start to their Friday. I don't know what Monday through Thursday was like for you if you're watching, but what I'm going to try to do is make Friday at least start off in a good way. I want you to laugh, go to work feeling good, and hopefully the vibe carries on all weekend long. Right. And so I kind of come out of my shell to be online like this. For the sake of that. It's basically the me who I can be when I'm around people I trust. Right. Because so you can see that my back is to the wall. I'm in my house. I can see lines, everything. And I know where all the exits are. So this is actually like a comfort zone for me. Right. So I'm comfortable being, able to talk. And then also a lot of these people like, let's see here. Mike, who's actually a Navy veteran, says, "Stop the cap, John. I found you during a 3 a.m. workout." Okay, that's fair, but it wasn't like during the first episode. That's what I'm trying to get at. But you see, like we've got like relationships of a sort that we've developed because I pull people out of their shell line and I'm like, hey, comment, don't just watch, even though we have people who watch with us like on their TV while they're working out. And that's how I found out that Mike was watching. I saw Instagram and I was like, who that looks like me. And I was like, it was like on the TV in his gym. He was listening to the show while he's working out. And that was just so awesome. And that kind of fuels my fire because I realized that I'm starting to have like an impact on people. So Kevin said, my man, he said, anyone being real, not being a fanboy to rep and pep and got my respect. Love the real opinions. So Kevin's in Japan and his kids he recorded a video of his kids singing laughing because they love watching Recliner of Rage at their dinner table. So I was like, okay, apparently I amuse the kids with my crashing out, right? Jared had sent texted me. Jared told me that his kids love watching Recliner of Rage and they sing the song. And his kids one of them just had a birthday. Theo just had a birthday, but they're young. They're really young kids. So that kind of thing has also made it easier for me to come out of my shell because I'm developing relationships with people. And then I did see a lot of people at in person at Home Gym Con. So I don't feel like I'm around strangers, if that makes sense.
Sure, it does.
Yeah. So what do you love most about being a home gym owner? Not just a home gym owner, but also being a content creator in the home gym space.
Man, I love working out. That's my favorite thing, 100%. The best thing about having a home gym is being able to work out all the time and try a lot of unique, silly things. I mean, I don't really care about what other people think anyway. I've been going to commercial gyms most of my life. I try to do this everywhere I go. And that's what made me a successful teacher. I didn't change who I was at home. I brought that. I'll bring that to this stream. I'll bring that to the classroom.
Right.
It's just what I am. So actually, in many ways, I do miss going to the gym sometimes. Not even because I like to walk around and develop a lot of relationships, but I did like the energy. So I'll say I miss that about having a home gym. I miss the energy. I'm kind of a reserved person. Like if you keep talking for this podcast or like this stream, I'll listen to you the whole time, and I
Yeah.
probably won't interrupt you. You know,
Yeah.
I'll just listen. Number
Yeah.
one, you're an interesting guy. Number two, I don't have to talk. I don't need to be heard, you know,
Mm-hmm.
to feel valuable. And in my home gym, it is just me, and I guess I love being able to have access to everything, no lines, no waiting. I love that. It's special, but I miss people.
Okay. Does your wife Rebecca train with you? She's a martial artist, right? I cannot hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, you got muted for a
Okay.
second. So does I was asking, does your wife Rebecca, does she train with you in the home gym?
You know, when she was a kid, she trained in Taekwondo, and I think she became a black belt.
Right.
But I mean, if you know the difference, right? Like the shopping plazas, the black
Yeah.
belt is very different than
Well, you
training
said
as an
she kicks
adult.
higher than you.
You heard me say that? When did
You
I say
posted on
that?
Instagram. You posted on Instagram.
I lose track of all this stuff, man.
That's
There's so
okay.
much going on. Yeah, I know it's okay. But that's funny. That's just funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, she can kick higher than I can, but she cannot kick anywhere near as hard or as fast as I can.
I understand.
I
Okay.
promise. I promise. My roundhouse kick is absolutely brutal. That's my favorite weapon, 100%. That and my jab. I love a jab.
Okay. So does she train
Martial
with you?
arts,
But does she
not
train in the
really,
gym
man.
with you? No. Okay.
Not really. She
Um.
will. She's going to, but right now she's committed to being a mother, which is a full-time job.
Heck yeah. Shout out to moms. Uh, I was
Facts.
raised by a single mom, so I understand the sacrifices. Although obviously Rebecca is not a single mom, but still, it's still huge. You know, there's something special about growing up and knowing your mom is there. Um,
Yeah, for sure.
my dad always, he and I have a great relationship now, but I know he used to always get mad, not mad, but he'd get frustrated when we'd watch like any kind of sporting event and the players would say hi mom. He said, how come nobody ever says hi dad? I was like, I don't know. There's just that connection between you and your mom, man. It's like your mom is the first person you know.
Hmm.
And a lot of times she's the first person you meet when you get to Earth.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's a special relationship. So yeah, shout out to moms. Um, so I asked you that question about whether she trained with you because my wife and I use the gym together, right? And so that affects the equipment choices we make.
Hmm.
As an example, the knurling that I like, she thinks is too aggressive.
Yeah.
So that affects not just the bars, but the attachments. So we've got his and her cable attachments, just for example.
Mm.
I have zero use for any sort of leg press. She loves it. So she's the reason why we have a leg press hack squat. Otherwise, we wouldn't have one. But that's why I asked you because I was, kind of going through your videos, like the one you were talking about your home gym setup mistakes, and I completely resonate with some of them. I've made some of those myself. Um,
Mm.
I mean, some of the same ones that you mentioned, I've made myself. But I think there's a different dynamic when it's just you making the choices versus when there are two of you, or you've got clients. You're like, well, I know that there are some people who they buy stuff because they know they're going to be training clients, so they buy stuff not necessarily for them, but oh, this client or whatever needs to use this if they're going to be training with me here or whatever. So I was just curious about that. Um, let's talk about your something that you said as in that mistakes video. You set your rack up on a slant, so now you squat outside the rack. Are you still doing that?
Nah, not really. I've got it set up differently because I moved to Florida.
Right. You just went out again. Your sound just went off again. There, I heard that.
Dang. Got me?
Yeah, got you now. You moved to Florida.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so now the setup is much better. I can just back directly out, but I'm not squatting that much, man. I'm really not. As I get older, I don't want to risk heavy barbell squats. You know, I had
Okay.
a disc issue when I was younger. I've seen you I saw you squatting the other day on Instagram with the bar. You weren't even holding it. And then you said something in
Oh
the
yeah.
comments below about people coming after you. So gathered
Yeah.
that you sometimes get frustrated with social media too, right?
Oh, so yes and no. So what I get frustrated by on social media is um, when people take a snapshot of what you're doing and assume that that's your training history. Like you started training today,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and in some ways, I try to take it as a compliment because the average person doesn't realize that I'm in my 50s, for example. Um, but I've been lifting weights since 1993. And so I think it's funny because some of the things that people say to me online now, I feel like it's almost karma because it's some of the stuff I said when I was a young personal trainer to people who were in their 50s. And I just remember
Mm-hmm.
them not kind of like saying, yeah, okay, just wait or whatever. And now it's like, kind of role reversal because people say stuff to me. And like I remember when training barefoot wasn't a thing and people were like convinced that, you gotta, if you don't train with shoes on, you're gonna die. And I remember arguing almost on a daily basis. Somebody would you do a
Wait,
video and they say, "Oh, it's like, oh, watch the toes." What And I'm like, dude,
no
uh,
way.
what is that? I'm like, what's that tennis shoe going to do if I were to drop this on my foot? What's that tennis shoe gonna do? Right? It's not a steel-toed Nike, right? But I
Mm-hmm.
started coincidentally, I became comfortable with training barefoot once I started training at home because when we lifted weights in martial arts and we were barefoot there and I'm like, I don't, for that matter, if you watch Pumping Iron, there are several scenes where they're all working out barefoot because they came in from the beach and started working out. So I was like, I don't really see the big deal. So that frustrates me a little bit. But as far as people just making comments, it doesn't make me mad anymore because I realize that it's all engagement. So in that
Any
video, I
press is
really
good
was,
press, right?
yeah, yeah.
Sorry.
No. That's 100% it. It's like because while I don't mind responding to a troll and going back and forth, a little bit of the sarcasm comes out. But I also realize that may be a chance to educate somebody else, who doesn't understand. Maybe the shoes that you're wearing are slowly killing you, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's it. It's an opportunity, but I don't get upset anymore. Like, I don't feel any, and I also no longer have this thing where, like you said, that you don't care what people think of you. So I'm like that in the sense that you can't say something to me on social media that's going to break me to the point where I need to take a social media detox. Because for me, this is
Right.
all like a platform to get my message out and interact with people. But ultimately, if some dude from, I don't know, Hackensack, who I've never met and never gonna meet, doesn't like that I train
Mm-hmm.
barefoot or that I do Steinborns, he can get over it the same way he got over the last thing he got over, right? Because I'm never going to see him.
Yeah.
I'm like, who cares? And there's no point in arguing with somebody that you're never going to run into. Like, what's the point? So you got to kind of like,
No.
in my opinion, you got to kind of be like, let's make it less important. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Dude, we're not designed to care about the opinions of people that we do not know. We're not. So when I say I don't care about what other people think, that's a lie. I'm not telling the truth. I care about what the people that I love and understand think of me. Because if I'm letting
Mm-hmm.
them down, then I'm letting myself down. My wife, my friends, my
Yeah.
family. If these people who I've invested in don't approve of the man that I am or the man that I'm becoming, now we've got a concern. But if we've got Jimmy from Nebraska who's got something to say about me or the
Yeah.
way that I train, man, I'm good. Like I'll read it, but it doesn't even
Yeah.
factor in, you know.
Yeah.
And it's the same deal with
Yeah.
some mean dude at the supermarket down the street. You know, I
Yeah.
just brush it off. It has no
Yeah.
hold over me because they don't know me. So why am I going to factor in their opinion
Yeah.
seriously? It is our duty as influencers. I don't really like that at all. That title, I really don't. But creators, that's what you said, that's better. As
Yeah.
creators, to acknowledge the comments, opinions, thoughts, and ideas of the people that watch our videos. And a lot of them are really nice. Most of the people
Yeah.
that watch my videos and comment are really nice. Like on average, they're good dudes, and most of mine are dudes. So to the few ladies that watch, I acknowledge you too. But the
Yeah.
percentage leans favorably towards men. And
Yeah.
they're mostly really good dudes, silly, fun, easygoing, and they offer great suggestions. But there's always a few of the trolls, and I just look at them and I wave from afar. They hold no sway. But I do acknowledge that operating on the virtual space in itself can be sometimes complicated and uncomfortable. And I mentioned to you that Instagram can be difficult for me. And it's because there's something there that triggers the mind, the scrolling, the constant influx of images and sounds and new information.
Mm.
And when I indulge in that in any way, it removes me from where I am. And I'm always fighting to be where I am, exactly where I am. I don't want to be looking into my son's eyes and also wondering how my latest upload is doing. Like, I just want to
Mm.
be gazing into the beauty of my son's eyes. So if
Yeah.
I'm anything that takes me out of presence, I'm skeptical of to
Right.
the highest degree. Have you ever read Alan Watts?
No, no. What is it? Tell me about him.
He's just a philosopher from the 1950s. I'm sure plenty
Okay.
of people that are listening now will recognize him.
Okay.
He was a brilliant mind, and most of his, I'm a big follower of his ideas, and I got to teach some of his work in my classroom. But it's
Mm.
all just about being present. And do you feel like the older you get, John, the faster that time seems to move?
Yeah, yeah. And I think that that's apparently that's actually a real thing. It's like the more years you have, the your actual perception of time changes. So like to a teenager, time is dragging compared to how I look at it. To me, it's like a blink of time. So yeah.
A blink in time, indeed.
Yeah.
And it's startling, right? Because you have so much more to compare it to. This is a great that these issues like time, fear of mortality, being
Yeah.
present, these issues have existed. Have you read Marcus Aurelius? I'm not trying to dump. I am at heart an
Um
English teacher.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I remember I saw Marcus Aurelius. Is it the Meditations? Is that
Yes,
who I'm thinking about? Yeah. So I've seen some of his stuff. I didn't really get into it because I don't lean towards stoicism. Um and I realized that he wasn't necessarily like straight up stoic, but I just all right, let me say this. Let me say it a different way. A lot of the things that shape my philosophy lean more towards like what Bruce Lee was talking about.
he's great.
Um
Yeah.
but it wasn't like that until I started to train. And a lot of that is because I grew up
Mhm.
with a single mom, right? So it's like, well, how do I figure out what a man is, right? And so I started looking for the examples of what a man is. So there's like, the idea is it Rousseau, the idea of the noble savage. So I read a lot of Conan, I read a lot of Tarzan, until then when I got older, which is funny because I'm from West Africa, so all my older relatives thought Tarzan was hilarious, and then I got older and I said, "Oh yeah, that is ridiculous." But anyway, but the point is that those were some of the things that shaped how I looked at life, especially because I was smaller than a lot of my peers, um, partially because I skipped 2 grades when I was younger. I graduated from high school when I was 16, and so to bring it back full circle though, to the point, I started shaping my philosophy of what life is and how to be after I started training, after I joined the Marine Corps, and then having my first son was a big one too. And then we have 4 boys now. Well, they're all adults, but 4 boys and a little girl. And the little girl also changed how I had a philosophy. And then of course my faith. Um, I feel that the closer I get, so I believe that we're created in God's image, and the closer I get to that image, the better. of a person I am, the better, because I'm closer to who I'm supposed to be. And I believe in living life on purpose. And so, because I live life on purpose, everything I do, I said this last week too. It's like everything I do is like I start out, here's the accomplishment, the thing I want to do. I want the jab to land. Uh, I want to throw this jab to make him do something so I can throw my hook, right? Whatever it is, I've got to, this is my desired outcome. I work backwards from it. And that includes how I want to be as a person just in life. Like, so like anything I want to do, I want to be a better husband. Okay. This is the desired outcome. What does a better husband look like? Then I compare this to the better husband, and anything that isn't the better husband got to go. Right. So I guess there's a lot of, I don't really know what to call it as far as a philosophical outlook, because it's kind of like a hodgepodge of the different influences that have come into my life.
Yeah.
And also keep in mind that not only did I grow up with a single mom, but I also left West Africa, came to a foreign country, and I was only 7. So I had to reshape what I thought of the world at a very young age. The military had just taken over the government in our country. So a bunch of different things just happened. And I guess it's kind of like how I went about the process of trying to regain control in a way as a kid. So there's that. Yeah.
Well, a part of me is always envious of Christians. A part of me is always envious of Christians, man. I just had this conversation with with my aunt and a friend of hers, like last night. She so proudly pronounces that science is her God. You know, proud.
You went, your sound went out again. No. No. Carlos said Carlos said the mics can't handle your manly tone. It happens to him all the time.
I bet.
There you go. You there, you're good. Yeah.
Manly tone. Yeah. Well, let me just close that. Yeah, my aunt was so proudly announcing that science is her God.
Right.
And I can tell it's something that she's ingrained in her mind. She's infused it into her personality and who she is. I'm not a Christian. I'm not a Muslim, but I'm just confused. If anybody who watches my channel knows what I'm talking about, I've said it. I don't know what's happening. I think it's beautiful, the idea of it having to do with God, like a fixed deity.
Sure.
As Alan Watts would call it. But I will say, besides my misunderstanding or my confusion or my aunt's rigid belief in science, I'm always envious of Christians, because you're given a set of like principles and guidelines that you can follow. People will often, when I discuss good and evil, right and wrong, anybody who watches my channel knows I have a vague obsession with Lord of the Rings. Whenever I discuss it, people will say, well, good and evil are constructs. And I'd say, yes, they're constructed ideas, certainly. They are just like beauty is up to the eye of the beholder, so are these ideas. But having understandings provided to you of what right and wrong actually are can help steer you through the confusion of existence in life. So I see a lot of really peaceful Christians, and I'm really trying to look at them anew. I'm trying to see them now, because there is a peacefulness about many devout Christians. Not all of them, certainly, because they're all people and there's so many, believers. But I am sometimes now, especially in my 30s, envious of that direction, because we all rail against control and being told what to do, just like kids, adults are just big kids. But there's another part of us that wants to submit to something greater. We want to follow a set of ingrained principles and ideals that can help direct us towards becoming a better man, a better father, like you said. Having the assistance of religion, having the assistance of doctrine, man, what a fantastic asset. And I can hear you proudly like pronouncing your faith. And yes, a hodgepodge of different beliefs and understandings, but having Christianity at the center of it all, having a religion that you truly believe in your heart, that you're not just telling yourself that you believe in, Man, what an asset. And I'm glad to hear that you have it. And I'm more and more every day glad to hear that others have it too, because what I'm doing sometimes feels overwhelming, but I didn't grow up with it. So
So hey Rex, what's going on, man? Rex said I finally made it. What's up, man? Glad to have you here.
hey bro.
Um, and Jared said I know some of Alan Watts. He said Chris and I could probably get along just fine.
Oh yeah.
My guy Dustin, he says a bee does not waste his time trying to convince a fly that honey is sweeter than, let's go with poop, because I don't know if Caden and Haku are still up, and I don't know
Nor
if
does a
Theo's watching.
lion judge nor does a lion judge the opinions of sheep. Does anybody know who said that?
I've heard a lion does not concern himself with the opinions of sheep. That sounds like a Mark.
Paraphrase.
That sounds like a Marcus Aurelius, but who is that?
Should we wait to see if anybody gets it?
All right, this is good.
A lion, that's paraphrasing. A lion does not concern himself with the opinions of sheep.
Mm-hmm.
And we could just wait, but
yeah.
actually,
So post that in the comments if you know the answer. No Googling. If you know the answer, post it in the comments. No Googling. We'll let you know before Chris signs off here. So Dustin said the Bruce Lee quote said, "Be like water, my friend." So I'll say that one thing I'll correct you on is Christianity at its core is not a religion. It is instead a relationship, because we believe that there is a person to whom we owe everything, including the breath in my lungs, the ability that he gives us the air that we use to curse his name. And he does it gladly because he loves us. But because of that, the way that we act is based upon not being unworthy of what he's done for us in the sacrifice. And it's like any other relationship. Like if you and I are going to hang out, I can't do things that you don't like all the time, or else we're going to drift apart. You start doing stuff that I don't like, we're going to drift apart. And it's the same thing with a relationship with Christ. So, and for those of you, for anybody's watching, I love this. I actually was, while you were talking, I was being thankful because I don't know when this conversation makes the last 3 years, even if this is all that comes out of it, this conversation makes it worthwhile, because that means that my Savior trusts me to represent him, to have you say that so that I could have a chance to respond. So I appreciate that. And I'll say that the things that I went through and the little hodgepodge of philosophies are based upon things I went through that he let happen, so that I end up thinking the way I think. My favorite quote is often ascribed to Bruce Lee, but it's actually Richard Bustillo. And he said, the truth in combat is different for everyone in this style. You choose from your own experience. All right. Absorb what is useful, reject what is not, make it uniquely your own. Whatever is left, make it uniquely your own. And that is what really has made it possible for me to be malleable and kind of like look at it like, okay, why is this happening? What can I learn from it? How will it make me better in every situation? You know what I mean? So I'm a big fan of that. And to go with that, Carlos said, life is 10% off, 10% of what happens to us, and it's 90% of how we react. I like that.
absolutely. There's also a way of thinking: waiting and patience. I always think waiting. The difference between waiting is patient, and patience is how you wait. You know, there's a famous Japanese samurai, Miyamoto Musashi. He's famous for, yes, and he says, once you see the way broadly, you can see it in all things. The way you do one thing is the way you do everything.
Yep.
The way I talk to you right now is the way I'm going to go talk to my wife. The way I treat you right now is the way I'm going to go treat my dogs and my friends that are arriving in this afternoon. So being real, like if I'm just being yourself, being true, being strong, believing in yourself, having character, and bringing that with you, being unwavering. That's it's a bulwark towards managing the confusion and the struggles of life. I 100% agree with Carlos.
So I think it's Epictetus. I think I said his name correctly. He said,
Mhm.
we are what we repeatedly do. So excellence is a habit."
Yeah.
And I agree with that. It's like that's partly why, to kind of go back to the content creation thing, why I say when somebody says, "Oh, well, it's kind of just like a hobby," I don't really know how to do it as a hobby. It's either
Mhm.
something that's worth my time, so it's worth doing
Mhm.
right, or it's not worth my time, so I'm not gonna do it. Right?
Right.
Um, who's the I always forget his name, and that's horrible. But he was a wrestling coach, and he was a Olympic wrestler, and then he became a wrestling coach at University of Iowa, I want to say. Um, his name will come back to me, but he said basically, if it's important, do it every day. If it's not, don't do it at all. Um, and
Certainly.
it's going to bother me if I don't. I'll look it up. But Rex said a great short synopsis of Christianity. Our relationship with our Savior is just that. It's a relationship. It's always evolving. It's always deepening. Dan Gable. There you go. Dan Gable. That's who it was. Coach Dan Gable, one of the
Mm.
best, most highly decorated wrestlers in Olympic wrestling history. And he said if it's important, do it every day. Grew up on a farm. So if it's important, do it every day. If it's not important, don't do it at all. And
Yeah.
that's kind of how I want to approach. To me, it's like that's how you do again everything. Like, why am I wasting time with YouTube if I don't want to do it well? Why do I, So let me ask you this because it has to do. I'm starting to get like the feeling for the answers, but I want to hear you unpack it a little bit.
Okay.
Um, I say you want to be a content creator. If you're going to do it, you're going to do it well. It's difficult to do it well unless you have some sort of income funding you, right?
Mm.
You got to pay for the products. You got to maintain and replace cameras. You have production costs, whatever, right? Related to editing. Especially if you don't want to do it yourself, because I don't know anybody that really loves editing.
But
Um, but the people who watch your reviews want to know that you're giving your honest review. And I know you have affiliate links. So kind of talk about how you navigate that relationship with the affiliate links in a way that allows you to still be able to give your honest opinion. I know that it's kind of like the core of who you are, but I'm saying like for the sake of other content creators who are watching mechanically, what are some things you say, "Oh, well, I'm going a little bit too far this way or that way, or maybe that's not even a good fit for me because I'm not going to compromise." How do you manage that?
man, it was hard. It was hard at the beginning trying to figure this whole
Mm,
thing out. Just along the same lines of what we're discussing. You start learning how to do something, you don't know how to do it. That's when most people
mm,
quit.
yeah,
And so once you start creating content and I started committing to this niche.
yeah,
Um, Figuring out how to do it was tough, man. I mean, trying to get equipment to actually review. There were some compromises that I had to make, or I chose to make,
yeah,
uh, just to acquire back.
right,
Um, Now, ultimately, to ensure that I am on the right track and there's no interference with my personality or my opinions, I just want anybody that I'm working with, I don't accept any equipment from if they're trying to direct me in any way. Number one, because it means that I can't just do this, whatever this
right,
is. And number two, it's complicated. I don't want to have to look at a list of bullet points and selling points
right,
and restrictions and deadlines. I don't ever like to be told what to do by anybody ever,
right,
unless I love and trust them. My wife could tell me what to do.
right,
My friends can tell me what to do. But just like I don't care about the opinions of people that I do not know, it would be hilarious to me if somebody I didn't know tried to tell me what to do.
right.
So trying to pretend like I'm willing to easily acquiesce what's happening. To easily acquiesce and submit to somebody else's requirements of me, not an easy thing. And so now I'm in a position where I just don't do that. I'm just not doing it. I'll come up with my own equipment if I can't work with a company
Mm,
that's willing to give me the freedom to review it how I wish. Because Most of
Yeah.
my equipment anyway is not reviewed from the perspective of like an engineer, like Gluck or even Coop. You know, they love the equipment, they love all the intricacies of it, you know, the design, the build. I think that's cool. But man, I use the equipment because I love working out. And when I work
Right.
out, I feel like me. I feel like myself. I feel free. So they're
Mm.
just toys to me, special toys. And I want to help my viewers understand how these toys, however they want to characterize them, may benefit them. But I'm trying to offer it through the lens of a dude who just really loves working out. And I really do. And I can't do that if I have any company breathing down my neck and trying to steer me. So now I just don't do it. If they want to direct me, I say respectfully, honorably, no thanks.
Yeah, that's fair. So we got some guesses here. So Dustin says, I know the quote, a lion is not concerned with the thoughts of opinions of sheep. He said it was used in Game of Thrones. I'm not sure where it originated from or what philosopher said it first. Uncle Reggie, hey, what's up, man? Hey, you did you get those products from Microgains? I forgot to go check your Instagram to see if you had gotten it. So I hope you got your stuff. And he said, yes, Game of Thrones. It was Tyrion Lannister. LOL. Once you said Game of Thrones, my lights went on.
Let's go. Let's go. It's actually a derivative from Alexander the Great, where he
Ah,
said something like, but that's where they got it from. And the line from Alexander the Great is something like, I am not afraid of an army of lions led by a sheep. I am afraid of an army of sheep led by a lion.
nice. Okay.
That is a derivative, but it's the same thing. Game of Thrones is awesome. And if anybody's watching, Night of the Seven Kingdoms is back.
Nice.
Game of Thrones is back.
Dustin said Iowa was the number one college to wrestle for growing up. Dustin has a wrestling background, powerlifting, bodybuilding background. He said definitely a dynasty college for wrestling. Heck yeah. I mean, I didn't even wrestle, but it crosses over some of the things that Dan Gable talked about cross over into MMA. When we were training it, and Reggie said, sure did. Awesome. Said, definitely appreciate you. Hey, my pleasure, man. Anything I can. That's the whole purpose of having all of this, is to give you guys sort of like an open conduit to be able to. So what happened, just to let you know, so Microgames was on here, and because the brand was on here, Reggie was able to ask a question directly to Mike, the brand founder, and it was a product that wasn't available. And so because he realized it was available, that there was a demand for it, they were able to work out so Reggie could place his order for it, which is one of the reasons why I love doing this, because I want to give people a chance to directly connect with brands instead of kind of just seeing them filter through even me. I don't want you to see it filtered through me, because to kind of go along with what you were saying is like the way I approach any product and the way my wife does is we just use it and then we tell you if we like it or not. And what I look at it is like, okay, the standard for me is, what does it say it's supposed to do? That's the standard. How closely does it achieve that? Again, this is the
Right.
desired outcome. Does it get there, right? And so if it doesn't get close to that standard, then what, to me, is not a good product. If it gets sort of close, then it's, I tell you the pros and cons. But I always tell people too that whether I think something is good is filtered through my lens of my training background. So if I say this is aggressive knurling, that's subjective. People like to act like it's objective, but it's subjective because it's based upon how your callus buildup, the kind of bars you're used to using, the way you're training, your training goal. So what I think is medium knurling, you might find aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
What you think is not aggressive at all, I might think is horrible. Like, this is life changing,
Yeah.
So it's like, I think that's one thing that would go a long way in the content creator space if people would just admit that, like, look, this is how I train. If you train like me, you have similar proportions to mine,
Mm-hmm.
and you have my injury history or similar injury history, then my opinion is going to have more value for you. So the more closely we check each other's boxes, the more my opinion should have value for you. Yeah. Dustin said, discipline is doing something you hate like you love it. That's from Mike
Let's go,
Tyson.
Tyson. Let's go, Tyson. Come on.
I don't know. Okay, so I respect your opinion. I'm not going to say he's the greatest boxer of all time, and he would say he's not the greatest boxer of all time. I'll say that. Just remember, he was a 20-year-old heavyweight champ, 20-year-old world heavyweight champion. I think that that's more a feature, though, of the competition available at the time. I would argue that if they were both in their prime, Jack Johnson would destroy Mike Tyson. And I'm willing, well, we don't have time to discuss that now, but I'll say there's a difference between somebody who gets gassed going into because of the fast twitch muscle fibers and his engine, somebody who gets gassed after 5 rounds, and Jack Johnson being able to fight a 100-round match and still be able to hit just as hard at the end. So there's that, right?
But there is something to Tyson's pure ferocity. He would enter the ring, and there were sometimes you'd look at his opponent like they were terrified. They looked like they were about to die. It took such courage to crawl into that ring. I mean, as to who, we're always talking about who's the greatest, man. They were both great.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? One thing I love about Tyson, I will say, is he is one of the biggest historians of boxing that I've ever seen, because he even got his ring entrance by watching Jack Dempsey, the Manasseh Mauler. So down to the socks with the boots with no socks, he got that from him. I really like that. So we only got a couple more minutes before I let you get started with the rest of your day. I want to make sure that we talk about this. The Fellowship of Steel. Okay, I am a fan of Tolkien, by the way, and I have seen I want to say the Fellowship of the Ring and the Twin Towers are my 2 favorite movies, but also my 2 favorite books. But beyond that, why should the people watch the Twin Towers? Yeah,
2 Towers.
I'm sorry, the 2 Towers, the Twin Towers. That's in That's somewhere here in America. The 2 Towers, yes. I like the 2 Towers because of the whole. I like how Gandalf had the conversation, not with Saruman, but with Wormtongue, with Grima Wormtongue. Although they kind of dramatized a little bit more in the movie, I did not like that they inserted the warg scene in the movie that was not in the books. But yeah, that's on my list of all-time favorite books. But my favorite one was the first one, because I liked how my favorite scene is where Frodo gets stabbed and they thought he was dead, and he turned out that's when he had to do the reveal of the mithril coat and all that. That Bilbo said, "Hey, just kind of keep it, a secret. That's a little something between us," right? I love that. Having said that, you have something called the Fellowship of Steel, and I don't want to let you out of here before you get a chance to let people know who are watching right now know why they should check it out and sign up for the Fellowship of Steel. And then let's just do this here.
Well, if they want to. Listen, the whole reason I got started with this channel, the whole reason I got into home gyms is, again, because I love working out. I've always wanted to do that, to focus on exercise. And I'm going to try gently pivoting some of my channel towards training with minimal equipment in my gym. I think a lot of people have less equipment, maybe just some dumbbells and a bench. And strength and steel sessions, the Fellowship of Steel, which obviously is based off of the Fellowship of the Ring, is all about that. It's about the actual training that I employ. And I do. I train every day. I say this in my videos. If my channel died today, I'd be working out this afternoon, and I'd be working out tomorrow. Be working out until I die. And that's where my real passion comes into play. I love talking about equipment, but who I am is a physical creature that exerts himself, that exercises, that pushes. I understand who I am through exercise, whether it's hiking or it's competing in martial arts or it's lifting weights in my garage. All the little dark contours of my personality that seek solace and quiet, that try to hide from me, are exposed when I work out, and I become a better man as a result. The Fellowship of Steel is just a peek as to what that looks like. It's going to be growing and changing. but it's more of me, certainly. So if you don't like that, you're definitely not going to want to join the Fellowship of Steel. But if you like Lord of the Rings references, which are inevitable if you spend any amount of time with me, and you want to learn a little bit about exercise, nutrition, anything fundamentally applicable to like to exercise and to working out in your garage gym or your basement gym or wherever, that is what I will be seeking to provide to you. And that's in addition to me just having fun. When I work out, I don't just work out. I have fun, and sometimes I'm just doing it out of obligation because I'm a disciplined human being and I get my work done whether I want to do it or not. But you'll see whatever shade of personality I I can represent to you that day, because it will be whatever it is, and I won't be hiding it. Hopefully, I can provide some education and some amusing references, and maybe even some entertainment by virtue of my personality. So that is what I can provide to you. If you don't want to join, that's totally cool. Just hang out with me on my normal channel. No pressure. But if you do, I'm honored to have you there.
Awesome. And that channel is Strength and Steel Reviews on YouTube. Make sure you guys are subscribing to that. Last question from me. How can a brand watching, if they like your vibe, they say, you know what, sounds like somebody who we resonate with, how could a brand contact you to discuss partnering with you to showcase their products in any way? Would it be like an email, or like how would you prefer they reach out to you?
Yeah, you could strength and steel reviews at gmail.com, or I swear I'm trying to get better with Instagram. DM me on Instagram. I almost missed John's message because I refuse to acknowledge Instagram completely, but I am opening the door and I'm peeking in. So I'm taking Instagram more seriously. I'm working on it. I can't promise I'm going to scroll and comment on all of my fellow home gymmers, but I'm going to get better. So DM me on Instagram or email me at strengthandsteelreviews@gmail.com.
So I'm going to say something that I just thought of. All right. First of all, let me respond to this comment here. Dustin's coming. He's throwing in the Lord of the Rings comic quotes in there, right? Not quotes, but kind of memes. So he says, "John, you shall not pass." I guess now you're the Balrog. Something else I thought about Lord of the Rings, about why I love the Two Towers, is how Gimli just for some reason just started to revere Galadriel. Like that became like, she was like, you're not going to talk about Galadriel in Gimli's presence. That just was kind of cool to me. Sean said, I hope you go into Home Gym Con. You'd be a fun conversation. Are you going to go to Home Gym Con?
I am. I'm going with my crazy cousin. So she brings out strange parts of me because she's so silly.
That's going to be interesting. There we go.
Yeah. John's a cool dude. You're a cool dude. We'll definitely be talking. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Dustin said, one plate to rule them all. Oh boy, here we go. And obviously he said he's a huge Lord of the Rings fan, and he liked Rings of Power. So the thing I said that I just thought of is, when I was getting ready to deploy to Iraq, my wife and I were in the theater watching, I don't remember what it was, but the movie with Clive Owen and King Arthur. They did a trailer for it, right? And she said, she looked at when it was going to be coming out, and she said, "Oh, well, we'll get to see it, but you won't get to see it. Sorry, you're going to be gone." And this kind of sums up a little bit about Instagram and how I kind of see how you see it. My answer to her was, you guys are going to watch an adventure. I'm going to go have one. And I feel like that's kind of like what the difference. Somebody, you watch Instagram, that's like looking at someone else's adventure. And I think you're just a little too busy having your own to spend a lot of time watching other people's adventures. And I love that. I respect that. I respect that.
Thanks, brother.
All right, my man. Thank you for being here. We got to do this again. This is a great conversation, man. Anything I can do ever, just hit me up. I'll do what I can. All right.
You're a good man. I appreciate you having me. You've got a great show here. You're clearly doing a great job.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Take it easy, Chris. Later.
Farewell. Wow, you stayed the entire time. I am truly impressed and grateful Thank you for sticking around. If you want to see more from John Greaves, go over to Garage Gym Life. He's doing a great job over there. And if you want to see more of me, make sure you subscribe for home gym reviews, workout tips, all that kind of stuff. Otherwise, you guys stay strong and you stay steely. And I'll catch you in the next one. Adios.